towards you in a dark hallway. If he's wagging his tail, you know.
Then she dressed up as a lobster.
Exactly. That one.
And she randomly contacted us.
Right. That's pretty prevalent.
I just attacked my laptop too. How is it? Yeah, like having like a fix and let people.
Like the building open and just have, yeah.
Man. Right on.
I know, what is this?
Yeah, they will go.
What was it? It wasn't Christmas, it was just winter.
What's that?
The bags.
Hi, I know, back again, back to
I drove around, I was like, giant in the one parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where it's all going.
Well, actually, the spontaneous is interesting, because usually,
We
They can bring-
it all the way down.
we can bring in snow, because it's snow stored in the farm stands, they bring it right from there and just dump it. But it's a little more logistically, they had to run
That makes
to that north lot and go back and forth, so, yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So Logan,
Yes, sir.
what do we got lined up for you for the next?
I don't know, what should we talk about?
Town hall remodel?
No problem. Leslie is here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I do not see.
Martin?
Leslie.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Living the dream.
Yeah.
This is the dream, huh?
Names are usually scary.
Right?
Slightly removed from the
That
camera.
was so nice, I handled it so well, I was so proud of myself. I'll talk to you later. Not one hair, no, it's like, that's good.
Yeah. Good.
Landfill's closed.
Yep.
Okay,
What's
so
closed?
landfill.
The high winds.
Yep.
Looked like something was blowing in and then, I don't know, I think it really stopped.
Yeah, earlier this afternoon.
I thought it was like, here we
Here I
go.
go, I'm gonna do it, yeah.
Yeah.
But no.
Oh,
Oh, weird, high pressure.
Talked to my mom, I'm kidding, I think it's 2 feet.
Yeah, I know, I was watching the news last night, they got hammered.
So
This is
crazy.
2 feet.
Yeah, we just have friends in Massachusetts and they're like, there's no snow here in New York.
Yeah. I have friends here from Stowe. And they barely got out on us.
It's like there's no change, you just go.
Yeah.
Why'd you come? Because, well, we got here in October.
Yeah. I think it's funny to see the snow plows on the trash trucks too.
Yeah.
It's different.
I don't know, when I was a kid, we did. Years.
Maine?
Huh?
Were you in Maine?
Manchester, I'm in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Because that was another thing.
It's just, by the way, this is the first time it's ever
My sister's in Maine.
Then this dramatic, okay. That'd be early.
Whole East Coast.
With the bike away, I presume. It's away, right? It's ready to go the next time it warms up to 50 degrees.
Right? I was skiing company, I was a motorcycle going up Bell Pass. Yeah. Fast.
Yeah.
You ever see that?
I just had to share with you because I am afraid that you'll see it.
It's been a long flight. Thank you.
Or for somebody doing that.
Tuesdays.
How's it going?
I
watched like 5 minutes of that and I just couldn't stop laughing.
Yes.
I know, it's so ridiculous.
It's just like,
I'll talk to you next week.
not what I was.
Yeah, Mexican drug cartels,
Yeah.
right, we're working with them.
My sister wants to know where hers is.
Don't need that.
She doesn't have any, because she didn't, steal his property from him or something like that.
Right, yeah, she's sitting in upstate New York.
Oh,
How's it going, Zach?
what's up? It is. Business. Yeah.
Diane, is this on purpose or?
I'm not gonna say that, I don't know what to do. Every week, something new. I don't know what I did.
I feel like I did last week too, I'm a little,
What's happening here?
guessing.
I don't think you should read too much into it.
I just need to adapt. I'm just kidding.
The problem is I have a book that's still here.
I'm excited about this, I never knew I had.
Now every time I say I'm gonna be like, Logan Snyder.
Come on down.
Hi Zach, hi Elizabeth.
Hello.
Hello, Rick, Mr. Mayor.
That's online.
Thad's online, are you guys okay, in an okay spot?
Ready to go.
Thad's online, cool, hey Thad. With that, let's open the work
Good
session.
evening.
Good evening. February 24th of the Frisco Town Council, and with that, our first agenda item of work session is gonna be a Marina Fund overview and Logan Schneider.
All right, well, good evening, Mayor and council members, good to see you again. Thank you for your time this evening. In our last meeting, we mentioned, we'd be discussing the possibility of the Marina Enterprise Fund transferring into the general fund. So tonight, I would just like to spend some time going over the process and that possibility in more detail. Kind of before I dive into that, I want to thank you very, very much for the last meeting. That's a difficult situation we're in this summer, and we really appreciate the support and every communication and conversation, so thank you for that. So tonight we'll get into, yes, the financial update, and basically looking just briefly at the history of the Marina and the Enterprise Fund, some analysis, financial impact, and questions. So basically, the photo we're looking at here, about roughly 1988, one of the first boats and first dock and only dock in the Marina. As you can see, we've grown quite a bit since then. So that's
There was high water though.
yeah, there's some water there, some good stuff. So yeah, the town took over day-to-day operations in 2004. They began the major investment control of the operation in 2005. So the Marina Enterprise Fund was set up as a separate, self-supporting municipal accounting fund used for government services. It's financed primarily through user fees rather than taxes. So basically, the Marina operates as a private business, or like a small business. So, sorry. Too quick. So, again, over the last 25 years, we've seen significant growth. The Marina went from basically a one dock, a few paddle rental operation. We're a large operation now with almost 500 tenants, large power and rental fleets, a service department, restaurant, and several on-water concessionaires and land concessionaires too, as a matter of fact. So in this slide, it kind of shows you a timeline of some of the bigger projects. There's more detail about these projects in the packet. But if there's any questions about these, happy to answer any questions about those. So until recently, the Marina Fund has been able to support this expansion. Right now, what we're looking at with increased staffing, wages, benefits, the need to prioritize the upkeep of aging infrastructure, the Marina is struggling to operate as a private business. We continue to require a subsidy from the general fund to make the finances whole. So kind of where the path that we're on right now in presenting this evening, the analysis of all of this. I think we all agree that the Frisco Bay Marina is a valuable community asset. To support this asset, at one point the town had to issue bonds, get a loan for $5,450,000 to make necessary improvements and enhancement. This loan matures in 2045, so there's still a ways to go on this loan. In September of 2025, the town contracted Klinger Hagerman LLC, this is a CPA firm, to prepare an operational and financial analysis. So with the help of our finance team, they confirmed that there's no issue eliminating the enterprise fund based on the status of the debt. So kind of moving along. Oops, sorry, I keep going too fast here. So with Klinger Hagerman, in addition to legally being able to move the fund, Klinger Hagerman also identified some following key findings in their report. And bear with me as I'm kind of read these because I want to make sure I get it correct from the report. So financial performance. Over the past 5 years, Marina revenues have remained relatively stable at approximately $2.4 million annually. However, salaries and benefits have grown disproportionately, driven primarily by increased employee hours to enhance service levels and by the town's adoption of a $20 per hour minimum wage, $17 hour for junior employees in 2023. Operational characteristics. The Marina operates near break-even, balancing strong revenue generation against significant labor, maintenance, and debt obligations. Annual debt service of roughly $350,000 from the 2019 Big Dig capital project creates a substantial fixed cost. Despite limited direct margins, the Marina contributes an estimated of $8 to $9 million annually in indirect economic benefits to the town through tourism-related spending. So these numbers came from 2 studies, one prepared by the Association of Marine Industries and one through Intercept Insights. So pricing and utilization. The marina services, including slips, moorings, and rentals, operate at or near full capacity with long wait lists averaging more than 2 years. Comparative benchmarking confirms that slip and mooring rates are significantly below regional averages, suggesting opportunity for incremental price increases without the risk of reduced occupancy. Boat rental rates are broadly competitive. Through refinements to dynamic pricing could further optimize the yield, Staffing and operations. The operation depends on 40 to 50 seasonal employees and 5 year-round staff. Management has implemented numerous efficiency improvements, including digital check-ins and improved guest board processes, enhancing throughput and customer satisfaction. Integration across town departments has also reduced silent and improved cost sharing. So that's just again from the report. And let's do that. Page 9. Let's try that. There we go. There we go. And then just getting into the financial impact. But not for the
This
group.
is not the updated slide. But, okay.
Okay.
So speak to it. So overall, with the operational overview, it was noted that when you just look at operating revenues, those operating revenues exceed the operating expenses. So that's when you don't include things like debt and the capital purchases. So those non-operating costs, the capital and the debt, those are what has become some financial pressures on the fund. So when we were looking at the list of those capital projects, those projects total $9.3 million. It's the list of the 6 projects bulleted in the packet, although I should note that the landscaping improvements that are noted were actually paid for by the capital fund. So that's $9.3 million that was spent on capital versus the $5.4 million that was borrowed in the debt. Some other pressures that we see are limited revenue growth. Logan talked about the steady kind of $2.4 million that we've been seeing versus increasing labor costs, so the rising wages and the expanded hours that Logan referenced. As Logan mentioned, the review of the bond documents, which we did call our bond counsel and check in with them, but it was noted in the report that was included in the packet, specifically that the town has made no covenant in the bond ordinance or the enterprise ordinance that it will continue to maintain the enterprise as an enterprise fund under Tabor. So pretty clear that we don't have an issue there, no violations, and that is in agreement with, that the bond counsel has provided this opinion and he's not opposed to that. Implications of converting to a governmental fund or the general and capital fund. The capital fund would need to absorb the debt payments and the capital projects, which means that those projects would need to be evaluated alongside other town priorities as far as including them in the capital plan. But it does allow for some flexibility going forward about some long-term investment in those capital projects. Also noting that the town of Dillon did recently transition its marina from an enterprise fund into their general fund with the primary goal of being able to invest in capital projects.
Okay. Alright, so if this is moved into the general fund, some of the operational impacts, what we're looking at. So as Leslie just mentioned, this is one other thing. So services and resources would be shared across the organization, thereby continuing to minimize silos across the different departments. And then moving from the enterprise fund into the general fund, it's critical for capital, future capital improvements. And one thing that I just want to mention by these improvements, it's not just we're talking marina-specific improvements. Some example of future projects that could include new playgrounds, a larger or new restaurant, pedestrian walkways, which we don't currently have down there, concert pavilion, picnic shelters, things like that. So we're not just talking about actual marina-specific type of things, but there's others, opportunities as well. So then, the marina remains a community-oriented facility, strong resident and visitor engagement. So balancing affordability with financial sustainability will continue to be an important consideration. items, so it's pretty short. But, I'm gonna open that up, but just getting your thoughts, ideas, questions, and in support of moving this into the general fund.
I thought at some point we like separated, we identified 3 entities down there, right? The marina, the park, and I guess the restaurant. Was there benefit is there benefit to, if we bring it back into the capital fund, then do we end up funding a playground through the parks?
We'd already included in our 10-year capital plan that the playground itself would be part of the capital fund and would be part of the marina park, as opposed to the part of the marina that is really the docks and funded by the user fees.
Right. If this is easier for you, I mean, that's really the biggest thing.
Well, one thing that comes up and kind of follows what the direction you gave staff at the last meeting, which is, we've already been funding out of the capital fund to the enterprise fund the maximum amount that it can subsidize by law.
So we can raise that.
Which is how much?
10% of revenues. That's correct.
2 million, 10% of revenue, $200,000.
250,000, somewhere in that 200 to 250 range. If we're to subsidize more, like in a year where we're gonna have no water, which is the question we asked, and you were positive about dipping in the general fund balance in order to do that. The only way we can do that is by moving it out of an enterprise.
What is the, this is probably a silly question, but is this gonna be part of the 2026 budget? Like, are we gonna push, finagle it?
So the next steps would be for us to bring a first and second reading of appropriations to the 2026 budget, just kind of as we did, well, we're doing the second reading today. So we could do some additional changes for the marina fund specifically, and then note in that ordinance that we intend to change the status from an enterprise fund to a governmental fund.
What are like the major downsides of doing this? Are there any?
I think it's really what I was talking about the projects would need to compete against other projects, capital fund, and the debt payment, capital fund.
So last year, maybe it was last summer, we did a council retreat and we went in and did like a capital plan. Basically, we were, okay, here's how much money you have, here's all the projects. And then we kind of worked together to pull out the most immediate or necessary things. So it would just be in that conversation, right?
It would be. I think the other thing, and this is more esoteric, but if we were to keep it in an enterprise and we want to keep operations at a certain level that the revenues don't support, our only choice is to seek more revenue. So that means that we wouldn't necessarily be able to put constraints on parking revenue, for instance, or slip rental revenue. We'd have to maximize those in order to keep the operation business healthy. Those are policy constraints that the town has put on this operation in order to balance, say, visitor needs versus resident needs, as an example. So those aren't bad policy decisions. They just constrain its ability to really run as a business.
So, a couple of questions and hopefully some more will come up, but any revenues that come in, as an example, parking, instead of going into the marina fund, will then now just go into the general fund?
Yeah, it would be my intention in the 2026-27 budget to actually still show it as a fund in that budget book. Where it would get wrapped up is in the financial statements, because it isn't technically, if it isn't technically a separate fund anymore. But we could continue to show the Marina Fund as its own page, so you could continue to
Just so we can see it. And then by taking on the bond payments down there, does that do anything to the town's overall credit rating?
No, I mean, it's still,
Because it's still under our umbrella anyway?
Yeah.
Wasn't, okay. Cool.
What's the remaining, was it 5 million, or what do we still owe for the big dig?
about that.
A lot of years left.
2045.
2045.
I suppose my only question is, let's say these water levels become the new norm. Would having this be part of the general fund have a negative impact if, worst case scenario, we realize we have years of this poor water level and we're not operating the marina? How would that impact the general fund? How would that impact operations? Or if we had to, at some point, close the marina in the worst case scenario?
And I think, the big decision there would be up to council, but it's definitely a concern. If you continue to have low water years, it's gonna be hard to make up revenue. And that would be a decision that I guess one way to look at this, the only other way out would be like a private concessionaire to come in and take it over, which is what the town took over around 2005 as Osprey Adventures. So, and that's the only other way that I would know of, how does the town just back away from this low water, low revenue situation, so.
Logan, this move would actually make dealing with that situation easier, correct?
Correct.
It'd make it
In my
less,
opinion,
If the town's gonna continue to pay the debt
one way or the other.
on it, then yes.
You could see it a different ways. Certainly, it gives more, as Leslie said, it gives more flexibility within that general fund to look at all the general fund operations and see how the marina stacks within that and how much you want to keep open. What would become difficult over time is if the direction is keep as much of the marina running as possible with low water. That's gonna continue to eat into other general fund operations.
Whereas before they would be protected.
That could be detrimented.
So if we merge into the general fund, that would be a little bit easier to balance, whether we're running it at full capacity to try to generate, or we can back off a little bit?
I don't think necessarily that backing off gets any easier,
No.
but it certainly provides a broader fund in order to balance those expenses.
And Tom, I think you also talked a little bit about what that reserve would look like then too,
Right.
right? So you could dip into that reserve a little bit easier.
Yeah, right now within the enterprise, the reserve within that enterprise is held in assets mostly. So it's not a balance of cash that you can say, well, for 1 year, we're gonna spend that cash in order to keep things going. Within the general fund, we have a much larger reserve that allows that flexibility for the council to look at how long they'd wanna keep a multi-year problem going, or where to make adjustments along the way.
One thing you bring up with low water too, if you wanted to continue to operate the marina, you could kind of chase the water. You could bring the pier out further, you could bring the docks out further. You wouldn't excavate anymore, do big dig, but that cost a ton. It's a huge expense, so that's where that capital would come in, where the enterprise fund just couldn't do it. There's no way the fund could support if we decide, okay, the new norm is, another half a mile out. That would be a big project to go further to get to water. Okay, making sense there.
This might be a loaded question, but does Denver Water do multi-year projections, or do they only do one season at a time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I almost don't wanna know.
I mean, it's really hard, right? I mean, it's all depends on what's flowing in. And how they need stuff to flow out.
It's predicting the weather.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it is, I mean,
And only fools and strangers predict the weather around here.
it is true too, that weather is not the only concern with this water level. Denver is filling up another reservoir with this water too, I believe. So it's not just the drought, that's the issue. Am I correct in that?
I'm not sure what they're currently, if they're filling one right now, but I know, I mean, there are times where they reach out to us and be like, hey, we're diverting, we need to fill this system, we need to fill this system.
It's
We get
definitely,
these
it's
emergency
definitely
reports.
partly water management.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe they have a new reservoir too.
Well, they're
Well,
building.
3 years ago it was for the fish. And they took the water out of Lake Dillon, whereas last year they took it out of Wolford. So there's multiple things moving water around.
And the only project I was aware of is Gross, but they're doing a new one as well.
That's my understanding.
Up the Cooners Canyon, yeah,
It's a different water system, it's northern water.
northern water, so it's
So
not.
that's
Denver.
not connected to, no, okay, copy that.
Are they draining, are they low water at Green Mountain too then, or?
I would think they
I
are.
would think everything's going to the front range.
Seems to me, for me, it's an easy decision to make this change.
Me too.
My concern is it's just like, not a blank check. You know, we need to really get it under control and it wasn't in our 10-year capital plan and now we're throwing it in our capital plan and, you know, Osprey that, you know, I know we wanted a better marina, but you know, at what cost? You know, how much are we
About
gonna-
$9 million.
Yeah. And that's why it came to the town, because
Right.
Osprey
Right.
code, that doesn't make a good business sense.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And I'm passionate about the marina, so treat it as a small business. And I think too, what Leslie was saying about having a marina fund in the budget book, again, it's not separate fund, it's accountability there to see performance. What we're doing.
Yeah, I wanna back up Dan on that. I mean, we definitely don't want it to turn into, not because of you two, that would not happen. But, 10 years down the line, if it kind of turns into a blank check, and none of us are here to remember why it was under that, moved into that accounting stream. But that being said, I don't see any reason why it would happen. Because it's still, like you said, you're gonna show on the budget, it's gonna be a line for the marina, right? And then I would say also, to that point, I found the report by the consultants pretty intriguing and fascinating. I think probably for a later time, don't open that can of worms right now, but a discussion on that revenue side. You know, because I think there are probably still ways to attack that revenue to help bridge that gap, but I wouldn't know that completely now.
I think, to your point, there are some good recommendations in there for that revenue, and as we looked at it, trying to combine that with kind of what we're faced with this summer, trying to balance that a little bit as well. But I think you'll see, Logan's already been working on changes for what the slip pricing would be for next year, right? Realizing that was a big piece of that, as well as that dynamic pricing, or even looking at changing, even potentially for this summer, we're gonna have to change how we do the rentals for the power boats just based upon the low water scenario. So is that also an opportunity to change the timing of the rentals, what the pricing would be based upon if we extend those out, instead of doing 2 hours, do a longer period of time? So some of that I think you'll see a little bit this summer, but then more to come in those future years as well, because you're right, there was some good information.
I think you guys all know this, but I'm gonna say it out loud anyway. The timing of this is really nothing, you all know this, it's got nothing to do with our snowpack. We've been talking about this for 2 years. It just happened to come to fruition now. So it's not necessarily a reaction to a down year, it's not at all, it's how do we make it sustainable for the long run.
I think it's essentially a lost leader for the town in that it's an attraction, we're not gonna get rid of it, we're not gonna be changing it drastically at all, however is the best way you guys see fit running it, obviously, I think not being hindered by that 2% fee and or factor, and then who knows about the future, you know, I mean, at this point, I'm not ready to hedge on the idea that we're gonna go into a 10-year drought cycle or something, which is possible in high alpine desert. So, I'm in favor.
Any more questions or discussion, team? Cool. Leslie, Logan, you guys, I think we have clear direction to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Very much.
Larry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. See you in a couple meetings.
Yeah, save that report for high water year, Martin.
Yeah.
No, 100%. You won't be.
That's what, yeah, 100%. With that, we'll get ready for our second item of the session tonight. It's going to be our community development action plan and update.
I have a photo bill, my gosh, it's just make it really hard to find. You'll need to fix your. And then whatever that, there you go. Thank you.
This one just does what you're saying there.
Oh, she did say she downloaded it.
Oh.
Yeah, I just remember you said she
Today, wasn't
downloaded
it?
it. Was it that one?
Top that.
Did it say
I
you were
did.
proposing?
It must be something.
First good proposing on the transit.
Yeah, interesting.
I guess.
Yeah, you're good. No,
That was months ago.
yeah,
It was.
someone's mentioned it today and I was like, huh,
What's that?
the HUD.
Yeah,
There's a story in
it was in the daily today.
the Daily Online.
I was like, did I miss
I know.
conversation?
Well,
But it was a while ago, right?
I didn't read it, but I was curious if the Forest Service just released it for public input.
Oh, that's possible.
I only read the headline,
Yeah.
because it said seeking public input, so maybe the Forest Service.
You're right, Katie, there was a link on it, on the online story that.
Brought James, cause you see me all the time. Thought you needed a new face, even though I'll do most of the talking here. Okay, so we'll run through this. We're gonna pause on some different topics to get your feedback and direction for us. So I'm just gonna give you a very brief background of our action plan and kind of remind you about when we did it in November. There's 3 items on that action plan that we are hoping to receive feedback from you tonight on. You saw the analysis in all of your memos and attachments, but we'll review it here. One is the 8 Pitkin property, one is drive-throughs, establishments, and one is residential units within the LI Light Industrial District. And then please ask questions throughout, not just at the end. So just a quick reminder, we presented to you the 2026 action plan in November, and the reason community development came up with this was because we, as you know, we recently had adopted the comp plan, the strategic housing plan, and the climate action resiliency plan. And we didn't want those plans to sit on the shelf and forget, kind of not do anything with them. And so we came up with James, primarily James, Nico, Chris, Emma, and Kim, really grouped together all the action items, come up with what should we tackle for the first year in each quarter, and then kind of give ourselves a little bit of a direction to help us out. We brought it to you on November 25 to make sure we were on the right track, at which time we heard we were on the right track. So this is an update to you of the quarter 1 where we're at. We're coming to you because we were requested to, so I understand some of this, it's still, I wanna say it's still quarter 1. So if I came to you in April, you could yell at us if they weren't done, but I just wanna note, we're only about 6 weeks in, halfway through quarter 1, maybe 7. Just being honest. So what we were gonna try, there's a lot in progress. I highlighted on here the 3 in yellow boxes of what we're gonna focus on.
I'm looking for direction from you, if you got enough info on the other ones in your memo, or if you had questions or want us to focus on anything besides in the yellow box. So I'll pause here and hear from you if you need to have questions. Good, only talking about the yellow boxes?
Sure.
Because we're talking about number 3 next time, right?
Yes, that is obviously one you've already been discussing, and then on March 10th, we will have come to you with kind of a memo that John is putting together. We are, just as a side note, look for that in your email from Tom or Stacy, not in the packet, because we don't want to wait that long to get it to you. So we are anticipating to get it to you at least a week before the meeting. So just so you know, we're gonna get that to you so that you can come follow up with staff or John. You'll have about a week to read it and then ask questions before the meeting too. So you'll see that coming sooner than your packet.
Katie, I know we're gonna talk about other stuff, but just for clarity on that, so I heard you correctly, is John's working on a memo for us. We're gonna have, which is really great, thank you guys for getting it to us early, and then the opportunity, John will make himself available to us as well?
Yes, he always has, and mentioned that at the last meeting. He
Yeah.
encourages everyone to outreach, and I can set that up or you can contact him directly.
Great, thank you.
Yep, and he'd prefer you ask him questions so that everyone goes into that work session understanding all the topics. So that is a good question.
Thanks.
Thanks for asking,
Yeah.
clarifying.
I have one just small question about the dark sky certification.
Yes.
Is that tied to the lower, the update outdoor lighting regulations?
Yes, so we had to do that as step 1.
Okay.
And then now Emma and Nico are working on the actual application to submit.
Cool.
Yep, good question. So the lighting we had to get done before they could officially apply, and now they're putting the actual application together. And we'll have it will easily get submitted this quarter. So.
One more question.
You're good?
9B, the ADUs.
Yes.
Are we gonna talk about that another time?
Yes.
Okay.
So staff has kind of highlighted and looked at other jurisdictions of ways to incentivize ADUs. There's 2 things we're doing. One is a covenant and one is code language. And then James is taking the lead on making those suggestions in the code. And then we're gonna come to see if people support or don't support those incentives that we're suggesting.
Cool.
Yeah, good question. Okay. Alright, you can always come back to any of this, just didn't wanna read through every single item in the whole thing if you didn't need the update. Alright, so Ethan Pitkin, as a reminder for you, what we're talking about would be step 1 of a lengthy, over several years process. And so this property, the town purchased in 2002, there's actually 2, the one in the front on the west, so the cursor is moving really slow, has a house on it that the town owns, and then the one in the back has a large utility easement that is gonna prohibit development. Sorry, the cursor is not, there we go. And just a reminder, the town did purchase this in 2022. It is about a half an acre. There's that large utility easement, so that does restrict development. When we had a DRC, which is meeting with sanitation and Excel and everybody, that was made very clear to staff that would limit it. The zoning for this is residential low, which is typically looked at as kind of our single family, sometimes 2 units, but very low density zone district, lowest that we have for residential. And just to the north of the property, you can see you have pink, that is the mixed use district. So part of the design of this will be looking to merge a development with creativity between that RL district, but recognizing it does abut higher density mixed use. And so that's kind of a design consideration that will be looked at as we move forward. Staff anticipates that this property will most likely need a PUD to be created and written for, because or else you're only gonna get maybe 2 or 4 units and that's it. And it's probably not the development potential the town planned on when they purchased it in 2022. So lots to come if we move forward. And what we are looking to see from the council tonight is 2 different questions you saw in the packet. The first one is, do you support staff moving forward to develop a design for the property in 2026? James can review the next kind of what this would entail in the future and budgeting. The town did budget through the housing budget $15,000 for 2026. And so first question, we didn't want to keep going if the council didn't want us to go forward anymore with this design. So the first question is just, do you want to move forward, and then we'll talk about how to move forward.
These are gonna be rentals, correct?
Not necessarily.
The possibilities are endless right now, you got a blank page with the utilities.
I think we'd have to put more money into it if it would be rentals, if it was selling, then it
I'm just trying to
would just
remember
be
exactly.
break even,
Hopefully, yeah.
you know.
We bought the land for like 2 million, I think that's what I read, something in there, 3.
Thank you, 2.2.
I think in the vein of, you know, it being that we don't have the money for this right now, we at least want to keep planning for future projects as we're
Next.
building these 2 big ones.
Next in the pipeline.
Yeah, next in the pipeline, we don't wanna just like kick everything down the road, cause then it won't be ready when we are ready.
Well, we have 2 million into it. If we get a development that we want, we could sell that to somebody, you know, to a developer. They develop it, and we have $2 million that we put into it.
Would we be able to change it into a PUD and then sell it?
And that, and you could, or you could do a public-private partnership, the options are endless.
Right.
James can get into more detail if you want.
So I was initially like, no. But then in further discussion, learning that it's a multi-year process, the pipeline discussion makes sense to me. So I've come around, but then does that speak to this partnership that's out there where we work with an education-based place?
Yep, so I'll get into that.
I know
It's
that's the
an
next
option.
step, but I can't, it was interesting to make the yes,
Yes,
to get to yes without knowing the
okay,
other how for
Yep.
me, so
Got it.
I'll go though.
great, alright, so hearing, I think we're proceeding at least as of right now, which is great for James to know. So there's 2 options for this, and I'm gonna skip to the question with the 2 options, and I'll go back to the UTAP program. So I think the original thought of council when this was budgeted and talked about was staff would coordinate and host a charrette for the property. Then we'd work with town council, you would direct us on what type of development you desired for the property, if you wanted a partnership, kind of where we wanted to go, high density, low density, Nellie's neighborhood versus a condo building, things like that. Then we would send out a request for proposals that outline that plan and get somebody to either design the plans or do a design build, which is when they work together with a contractor to design and construct. So that's option B, that's definitely still possible. Since that housing retreat, James and I have heard about the UTAP program. It's being advertised through DOLA and also at some workshops and conferences that we've attended. And basically what it is it's a program through the University of Colorado, Denver. And they work with a instructor, so they actually have assigned staff to these projects. So you're basically getting a very knowledgeable person working with high-level grad students. And I put in the staff memo, and I can review it if you're interested. The amount of projects they've done for communities that have been enacted is very impressive. So you're not getting kind of just like a pretty picture. They actually are really trying to design for a community. And part of that project involves them holding a charrette, coming to the town council meetings, and really just being the third party, non-biased, to collect the community and design their input. So we like the idea of it, because it's cheaper, it's less staff time, to be honest. We would have a lot of coordination with them on James's end, but we wouldn't be running the charrette, for example. One of the things that other communities in this program really say is they find people are really nice to the students because the students are not biased. And the community it's worked really well from what we've heard. And if you look at their website, I know I linked it, I don't know if any of you took the time, they have a pretty good reputation. We're not looking at just, like I said, kind of just random coloring drawings of idealistic world. So staff would love to, we have the permission from DOLA to apply, and we talked to UTAP, which is an initial step, and they have a spot for us to work on a scope of work to then negotiate and look at. So we can't do that, but we didn't want to do that without your okay. So we do not need to do UTAP. We think it's a creative idea. It does take longer. So they recognize that these are students who also have full-time jobs in the summer and things, and so they have a requirement to work and do the project, but it's not gonna be as fast as if we sent out an RFP and we hired a private consultant to design plans for us. And so that's just, wanted to kind of see what you thought. We are happy to go either direction. We just thought this was an opportunity worth at least informing you about. And if you like it or don't, no hard feelings on anyone's end, so.
It's probably a tens of thousands of dollars savings.
Honestly,
Yeah,
and you can see the UTAP person told us on the phone, it's 5,000 to 8,000 usually is what they charge, and that is split with DOLA.
Yeah.
So a little twist, and the only reason we're bringing this up right now is that they are funded by DOLA in July. They're taking on projects for the next year right now, but if we waited in 2027, we said, let's do this, they may not have funding this July for new projects. They hopefully will. But it is, get in now, and we can't guarantee you could do something in 27. And we're not guaranteed to get in right now, it's working with them on a scope of work and making sure it works for both of us. But we've sent our documents.
So we have budgeted 15,000. And this is 5 to 8. and that's
Estimated
split.
average project they gave us.
But that's split with adults, that's
Correct.
4, so
Okay.
15,000, 4, 5,000.
Yeah,
That makes you smile.
but if you had somebody like a Norris come in and do Charlotte and all, that's gonna be
275.
15,000, yeah, 275.
Yeah.
Right, not to say anything bad,
Yeah.
against.
It's just a
Norris,
private
so
consultant
that's-
world where there's trade-offs, it's
Yeah.
good and bad of private consultants and staff and UTAP.
Right.
Any of those options can be done. We can also run shreds, we all have the knowledge and experience, but I feel like we as staff don't get treated as well, and we get treated as biased. And we ran into that with Pioneer Park, even when we tried to help at open houses. So just coming off of that, it's a little bit difficult for us to think about leading a design project for this property.
I love the idea of
Yeah.
connecting the educational piece.
And it's not like we're on a tight timeline.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
or just pipeline, yeah.
I feel like this is the perfect way to go about it, since it's less money, we're not in a rush, and supporting educational institutions.
Is that good? That's all we needed for the first discussion item.
Nice.
That was it. James is gonna run with it from here and see if they accept us. No guarantees, but at
I
least.
guess I have one question, I'm all for it, following UTAP, but I'm just curious, like, I guess it's hard to predict, like, the weather. Just like our housing dollars, I guess, are we even, like, where are we at, like, if we do? I'm just worried.
No, it's a great question and James is ready for it, so.
So right now, we're programmed in 2028 with $500,000. Based on how our other projects go, we may be able to do more, we may have to do less. But right now, we're looking at $500,000 in 28.
James, is this property, is it paid off? We buy it
Yeah.
outright, we don't have any loan on it,
No loans.
nothing on it, is that
Correct.
I like the idea because I don't know, just going into that mindset of like land banking and buying property and just, I don't know, I think it's cool, like I'm excited to kind of just not sit on property.
I think when we were talking about this before, we were looking at that we're donating that, that's our nut for that deed restricted unit, isn't it? Isn't that kind of what we're trying to, we're not trying to go over that.
We were looking to not spend any more on that.
Yeah, that would be our contribution to that, it's paid off. So it would be more of that, somebody's building it, we're not renting it, if we're renting it, then we're gonna have to throw a lot more money, but if we're selling them, we should just be 2 million, whatever, 2.9. That's what I would like to
And as
see.
you know with developers, there's always an added cost at some point that just pops up.
Well,
So
if
they
you
may-
do water taps.
So that's why, so that's why we have $500 million in there, just
Oh, Andy Hill, there's always a
And we're not done with our other projects where there may be more asks.
And sometimes there's more than one ask.
That's a nail biter.
That's, yeah.
Keeps James up at night.
Does it?
No, we're doing all right.
I was like, wait, what's going on?
We're doing all right.
Great, all right, next
All right.
discussion item. Drive-through establishments.
Yeah.
So,
I'm okay with the bottom one.
what? I just wanted you to keep in mind, there's a lot of different types of drive-through establishments, so thought I'd give a little entertainment here as we move into this
So
one.
can we straight away just say no drive-throughs on Main Street?
Yes.
I would say that, I would back that.
And I really reduced the presentation from the memo, because planning commission said the same thing. What I wanna so let me skip ahead, what I wanna focus with you on is the pink, mixed use. So Main Street, if we did, you kinda do it by zoning, you would do it by zoning. So this gray is central core, it is very easy to say, come up with a definition, vehicle drive through style, I can't remember what I wrote, but, and say it's not permitted in the central core. And then permit it in other districts where we want it, or by conditional use. As a reminder, there's 3 options for how zoning works for uses. 1, not allowed at all, like, not an option. 2, allowed by conditional use, which means it goes to the planning commission with a site plan and a conditional use, and you look at, how is the traffic, how is the noise, is this a good fit for this parcel, and it's parcel specific when you have that. And or you could say the use is permitted by right. So just to show you on here an example for commercial uses, let's go to, no, you can't read it. Let's try to find what you can. Okay, so right now, ignore the red. That was a suggested change as you could consider. Fast food restaurant is allowed by right. The dark circle means permitted. And mixed use, CO, CC, and MU. So right now, you could have a fast food restaurant. We don't define drive-throughs, so an option for you we're gonna get into is, do you wanna ban certain uses with drive-throughs in the main street, or just all drive-throughs? And I think it's all drive-throughs from what I've
For
heard.
me,
For me, yeah.
Okay, so we can kind of move on from that and just look at,
What about,
sorry.
I mean, what about the ends of Main Street?
That's what we need to focus on. You have these pink properties are mixed use. Do you wanna allow drive-through establishments? And then I
No.
put a little bit on Summit, this is zoomed in from the zone map. You do have some pink, School Road. So you have what's the Centura property
Oh, yeah.
is mixed use. And so just before the middle school.
Do they have, through a process like this, do they have the ability to split mixed use into different areas or different types of zones?
No,
I know it all is one right now.
oh, but if we wanna redo the zone map, are you talking?
That's what I'm.
Or if they wanted to.
Well, just because you have very distinct areas, you've
Yeah.
got Summit Boulevard and Main Street.
Yes, we could if we came up with an overlay district. And we had an overlay district for certain parcels, such as how we have the historic overlay, and we have a few different parcels on the map that have specific regulations. It is a lot more complicated and confusing for people. I'd rather personally see you, at least if you're uncertain, go with a conditional use maybe and not permitted in mixed use. Or just say not at all.
And on a conditional use, that would have to be like they're coming forward because they're proposing this thing,
Yeah.
and then we, or the council or the
Commission.
planning
Yeah,
commission
planning commission.
would be able to then say, well, this is that end of Main Street, we would consider it there.
Yeah, and they'd be looking at the parking, the traffic queuing, the noise. Now, it is iffy sometimes to really make a clear case to deny it, like all applications. We do have criteria, and you look at those 6 or 8 criteria in the code to make sure they comply. But if a neighbor just says, I don't like it here, you have to justify it based on those criteria. So I don't know, I also don't wanna mislead you and be like, if you have a conditional use, you could say no. You'd have to have a clear reason on those criteria for denial for that. So it's still up in the air based on the proposal, design, and property.
I guess I'm curious if, is there any way to like limit the number of drive-throughs instead of saying like I think we're all in agreement, maybe not on Main Street, but in other parts of town, do we want Summit Boulevard to just turn into like fast food row of like tons and tons of fast
So I guess I would take direction from council, and I know we'd wanna talk to our attorney about the legality of going that route. We could do that. I guess I need feedback if the council wants to go that direction. I will tell you, I went broader at planning commission last week, and I asked them about Summit Boulevard, and they were very big on the economic base and needing that economic, sustainability. So that was they said, don't even discuss this with them. They knew I was coming to you this week. But the planning commission was like, we don't want them on Main Street, but don't consider limiting them or prohibiting them. But if council has a different direction for staff, then we can look at that.
I appreciate the hard work of the planning commission, I wanna start by saying that, and I met with Lena over some stuff to get her input, last week. That being said, when I look at the mixed use on this map, my initial instinct is to say, no, we've got enough. We've got enough, I'm not against drive-throughs, I'm not against McDonald's. I'm against McDonald's outside of where that McDonald's is gonna go. And so to me, I would just say no drive-throughs and not even giving an option for someone to find a loophole to somehow squeeze one in.
So you're saying no to central core and mixed use?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, and Robin is asking more about restricting the number and quantity as you go. I have a normal big map, hold on.
Yeah, because I get what Robin's saying, yeah, one of those
This
days.
is commercial oriented, so we didn't bring up.
And that's what you're saying. One day
Yeah,
those
I mean,
go down.
even like despite that, like the emissions of all of these idling cars around town, like do we want that? I get the economic impacts and I wanna be able to balance that, but also like live by our values a little bit.
Yeah, and that's why we did put kind of pros and cons of restricting and not restricting in here, just as general food for thought in the memo.
I do think like having a ton more fast food restaurants in that like 10-mile drive area, like it's gonna be disruptive. The smell is significant and there are a lot of people that live there. So having more of them just seems a little scary to me.
So Katie,
Keeps you hungry all the time, huh?
Huh?
In the summer, it keeps you hungry all the time. KFC blowing in, McDonald's blowing in.
Katie, you're saying that you have to go with that and maybe talk about it, we can actually just put a number, a cap on it.
I need him to help write that to make it legal, cause it's not something I know that you can easily by use prohibit or ban, but to do a number cap, that's out of my realm.
And
So the purplish,
Is it easier just to ban them? Like Martin was saying, to find a loophole, this and that, or is it just easier just to, probably the easiest thing is just to ban them.
well, let's go district by district.
Okay.
Let's go back, so everyone agrees, Gray Central Core, they will be prohibited. All types of drive-through establishments. So then we're looking at, again, all types of drive-through establishments, not separating a bank from a fast food restaurant. Let's look at the pink, the mixed use.
I would like to bring in this one perspective that I'm not necessarily advocating for fast food restaurants or drive-throughs in general, but considering the people that are driving through our town, either, let's say, on their way to Breckenridge, or locals that might be leaving Frisco on their way to Copper, and things like a drive-through coffee shop, whether that's a major or not. At the far end of Main Street, West Main, as you hit I-70, how many folks in town, and I know that we have local coffee shops that they can stop at and get out of their car on Main Street, but how many folks might be interested in stopping to grab a coffee in a drive-through? Or the opposite of folks heading towards Breckenridge, on Summit Boulevard, and right at the end of Main Street there's that one little pink, I don't know what that,
Bronski property.
yeah, that empty spot there,
Other side.
that one, people, no, the one that Katie has her house.
Okay.
Folks who are headed to Breckenridge, that is a very easy in and out, that might not disrupt traffic, that might offer service and a tax base. I just wanna bring that in. I'm not necessarily advocating, but I think there could be a desire for it for a lot of folks that are coming through Frisco. I think there are some areas that it is more appropriate than others.
Well, we have two drive-through coffee shops now on Summit Boulevard.
Yeah, but if you look at Starbucks and you're actually headed towards Breckenridge, you would need to cross traffic, make a U-turn.
Yeah.
It turns into a 10-minute expedition.
So that lot that you're looking at right now was supposed to be a development, condo development. We have 11 deed restricted units that are sitting there, somewhere around there, that is in that development that was supposed to be built. There's plans for that. It did have a corner coffee shop on the corner of that whole big building, you know. So that whole lot was gonna be residential, with a little commercial space in it.
AmeriGas, like the gas.
No, so he's talking
No.
about 25 Water Tower Way, which
Oh,
is the site
that's the
being
one.
used as a construction site right now.
Yeah, it's
So
kind
just to be,
of
there are outstanding affordable units that need to be
Yes.
built on there from the properties to the south.
Right.
There is no development right now that has been approved. So the owner will need, and we've been meeting with him, we don't know what he's doing, he's trying to figure out the requirements so far. It will come through and it will be required to be a minimum of 20% commercial or a conditional use, cause mixed use requires a portion of commercial. As far as what type of use, we don't know. But so no plans have been approved, but yes, there's outstanding affordable units that they have an obligation to build there. And they either need a conditional use or 20% commercial.
So if you throw a drive-through in there too, that's gonna would eat up some space, you know.
No,
for development.
absolutely, and I would certainly prioritize housing over a drive-through establishment. I guess I'm just hesitant to try and place an overall ban in these mixed-use zones, because I think some of them certainly could be appropriate for that type of establishment. You know, the Wergonski on this side of Maine is close to residential, but it's not directly at residential, and that's not bringing a huge value to the town. It is a small business, you know, it's a plumber, but like that is an area that a drive-through might fit perfectly. And for folks on I-70, they could stop here and not deal with the crazy exit 203. I don't wanna say that I'm advocating for it, but I am hesitant to go for a complete ban in
I think,
those zones.
Zach, I think you're perfectly good to bring up the question, like, you know, what would it draw, what kind of tax revenue would it draw? There's no question there would be people who would want a place there at the Woronski, both developers and consumers, I'm sure. It would, something like that too, would have, I think, a downward effect too on bringing more traffic to Main Street too. That would be later down the line for discussion. So I get what you're saying. I guess for me, the needs of those people and those developers and tax revenue we might get does not override my position that it should just be an outright ban, with the exception of where we have it in the purple right now. And I think that is, me personally, I think that is more than sufficient land and space for these type of businesses that might have that. And then, again, entertaining maybe Robin's idea about a cap. I'd like to hear what Thad would say about that.
Yeah, he is on, I don't know if he wants to weigh in on thoughts that you
I
wanna
forgot
weigh
he's
in
on
on
the-
that, or wait till another meeting.
I'd wanna wait for another meeting and do a little research on that particular issue.
Yeah. Good. Is it within this vein, is it possible to just say that, commercial oriented allows drive-throughs? Mixed use would have to be a conditional use? Like, you know, so you don't exclude everything in the pink, but they could come forward, and if it was found to be appropriate by planning commission, then you could do that. And then don't allow them anywhere else, is kind of where.
What do you
where
think,
the-
just asking about the roundabout areas, I don't know what you get in development up here, but let's say the country kitchen site is a different
Yeah.
zone district, do you think drive-through
The
should go there or
gateway.
not?
I think if we're not very careful, we're gonna find a lot of drive-throughs and a lot of fast food. And I'm not against it.
Right on I-70.
Yeah, and there's a reality about that. And by the way, we want that tax revenue at that McDonald's and that Taco Bell and that KFC. And I think we've got a good space for it right now. But I you know, people will find a way to get drive-throughs and fast food and businesses where you're idling your car. definitely in those orange zones, and that Wronski spot, I mean, 100% they'll try to weaken the zoning. It's right on I-70, I mean, it's built for it, so I mean, to Zach's point, there is definitely something that could go there that would, a lot of consumers would like,
Well, it's
and
a
a lot
gas
of
station.
developers would like.
It was a gas station, so.
And it was a gas station.
Yeah, you know.
I used its fax when I
If
first
it was
moved here.
down and they could put a drive-through around the back of it in the highway side or something coming out, but.
So my question is, with conditional approvals, how does that process work? And Martin, your point is, how careful we would need to be, how careful can we be with a conditional approval?
I think what I'm hearing so far, and we'll review it and give you comments, but we would write it as I'm hearing, cause you're gonna see it again. And then give you a specific detail with the criteria of a conditional use and how we as staff would look at other applications we've received, pretending they're going in on that property. Cause I don't know the criteria right off my head to feel confident in giving you a good answer. And what I've heard so far up for discussion, just from what Andy just said, is how about we prohibit them in the central core? We allow them by conditional use in the pink mixed use. We allow them by right in this purple commercial oriented, and we prohibit them in light industrial. I'm not sure if I heard yet on that one. How does that sound so far for what we draft? And remember, this is gonna be an ordinance, it goes to a work session, or planning commission will give a recommendation, and then it will come to you for 2 readings.
I mean, I feel like no drive-throughs in the pink, in the mixed use, that's just me. It doesn't mean you can't put a business there. You can still put a business there, you just don't have a drive-through. And yeah, I feel like,
I agree with that also.
I feel like that is, maybe I'm sentimental about that exit, but it's also kind of one, we have like that business core, the business loop off the highway. This is like going into our main street, and I just would prefer to have businesses without drive-throughs as you enter town.
You kind of look at that Lusher Court too with the new exit, the change of the exit. We all know how it is getting to come and go, and it's busy already. Now we're gonna have everybody going around the Dam Road, come back. Most of on Lusher Court's been built, but it's all new, so nobody's tearing anything down. I don't know, is there any empty lots there besides parking lots for AC Hotel? The hotel, Alpine Hotel, there's not really much left there.
Unless like the county wanted to develop the transit center lot.
The transit center, yeah, that's.
And what about Lake Point, is that
Yeah, what's
unincorporated?
This area?
Lake Point, yeah.
PUD, they actually
Oh,
have a
gotcha.
unique PUD without an underlying zone district.
I gotcha.
So what are the regulations for fast food in that?
That is all up to the PUD, so it's actually its own document that outlines uses and everything.
And is it included in there?
I'd have to check, that's why I didn't give a yes or no, it's in the document, I would need to research and get back to you.
Fast food restaurants
and
there,
KFC and.
And that's where McDonald's is going.
Yeah, that's where McDonald's is gonna be.
I would, I would like,
We analyzed the use through the Lake Point PUD at the for the McDonald's at Planning Commission, so I know it was allowed by right. As far as what exactly uses are listed, that I would need to give you the piece of, or read a piece of paper for you. Document.
So that PUD's at Lagoon Townhomes too and stuff, or?
It's everyone who's hashed.
Yeah, that
This
whole
whole
thing.
thing,
was
yeah.
all
Yeah,
one
I did not know that.
Lagoon's
Back there.
north.
and there's
south.
been a few revisions to it, for example, when they wanted to put some employee housing above the Wendy's, the town saw that and approved a modification of the PUD to do that. So you've seen a few changes in it to adapt. But yeah, the only way a PUD gets modified is it has to come forward with all of the owner's permission, a bunch of paperwork, and then we process it as a rezoning application. So we don't see a lot of modifications because it's tough, but it's possible and we do see it occasionally. I can look up and get you, just for your information, what that PUD has.
Thanks. Yeah, so just going back to what I said, like in the beginning of this conversation when we were talking about conditional use, like the loopholes and I just don't wanna take that risk personally. I would just, all the way from beginning of Main down to the marina, you know?
And that's our quiet exit, like you said, it's
just-
the one that isn't chaos at all times.
And I think it could really change the whole feel and character of our main drag, you know, like, I'm fine with businesses, you know, bring it on, but drive-throughs, for me, I'm just making that, just cause I felt like I hadn't said anything yet.
No, and
I'm
that's,
curious how the exit 2 or 3 project is going to change that exit, our other exit in itself. You know, once exit 2 or 3 is done, it's gonna be a lot more to quickly get on or off that exit, and are we gonna see increased traffic flow here anyways? So I think there's a lot of pieces in play. As I expressed, I'd be interested in knowing what restrictions we have in terms of conditional approvals in those zones rather than an outright ban, but that is just my one perspective of it.
I think you're right, Zach, that there will be some type of change in that exit. For me personally, that doesn't change my view about how we can control that exit.
so I think I've heard 3 absolutely prohibit, 1 consider sleep conditional use. I think I need to hear a little too, I need to hear a little more, because it's focused on which direction we wanna go. Exactly.
Well, you go ahead first, Aaron, I might not even have to talk.
Yeah, you might not have to, I'd jump on board with fewer drive-throughs in our world, period.
So in mixed use.
I mean, I'm good like that, I would want to, same with Mr. Mayor.
And I would also, sorry,
No.
but just to reiterate, I'd love to explore the option of capping. I think that goes along with the values we have as a town.
It sounds like that, heard that, and he'll do a little research and report back, so.
Interested to know
Okay.
some data there.
Is anyone against allowing them for now what we draft in the CO commercial oriented?
That's by right now, right?
And then not allowed at all at light industrial, I think everyone would fully support that, correct? And then the orange, what do we think?
I'm against the orange too.
I think the orange is maybe the most appropriate zone to have those type of establishments.
At least right on the.
If we had none of those establishments on Summit, I'd be okay with the orange. I just think we've got enough. I mean, that's what I'm basing my view on. Whether it would, I think it's,
We could prohibit right now the future of Frisco right off the highway looking like, whatever, Indianapolis or something as you're driving through I-70, with all the big fast food signs and all.
And the Buc-ee's.
And then, Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
There's not enough open land for a bucket.
That would be like that whole side.
Loves,
And that's why I do think like Gateway and commercial are the appropriate spaces for fast food and drive-thrus in general. I just would hate to see a ton more of them. And I don't think it's good for air quality or the kids who are walking there from middle school eating all this fast food every day.
Yeah, I mean, to me.
Hilton Head in the 80s.
Yeah.
They banned all, in Hilton Head, you can't see the signs of fast foods or anything, It's kind of really hard to find anything, too. They banned it, they're one of the places that I went, they banned the signs and they don't want to look at it. They didn't want that down there.
So,
Main track.
and for now, I think I'm hearing no, other than, thanks for your input, orange, none in the orange either. But what we're drafting, you'll see it again, you can always think about it, you can hear from your community and see if they have other feedback. I think
And what if Country Kitchen came forward and they wanted a drive-through strip joint? That was,
That was the thing.
that would be the liquor store.
So
that wasn't there, one side. Harry Tribune?
Yeah.
That's why I just say this area, I did.
Yeah, I was too, then I saw Lagoon Drive.
Alright, so I think that was the direction we needed. Just to review, what we're gonna propose is a new definition for vehicle drive-up or drive-through activities. The reason we wanna come up with a definition is because now we can actually have that as a use to do the permitted or prohibited in the table of uses. And we also obviously need to separate that from gas stations and certain transactions. So basically, this is what other communities define them as. We will still analyze it a little more, but that's what you'll see us bring forward is a definition in these blanks, which we just did tonight, and it's pretty simple moving forward with that. So thank you. That was that one. Now we are on the last big one we had, which was residential in the light industrial district. So this one came about, honestly, this was a staff initiated suggested change, and it is because we have, not tons, but we have had over time random building or business owners in the light industrial come forward and say they wanna build employee units above their building. And right now it's not allowed at all, unless they did an ADU, which you technically could build a small, under 900 square foot, one ADU on a property, even in the light industrial. So there's a little bit of a threshold, but that wasn't worth them doing, it's not what they were looking for. So we felt like this may be a good thing to encourage employee housing. So what we're looking at is really restricting the residency and the occupant. We had a really good discussion with Planning Commission on this last week, I'm gonna give you an overview on. And what I'll also note, and you'll see it in here, but before I go too far, most of these structures, it's only a 10-mile drive, that turquoise, I'll show a map again. They're pretty much all one story. The current zoning allows them to be a lot higher. So someone could come in and build a 3-story building there today. So we're not looking to ask the town to increase height or increase any size of a property, of development on a property. We're just asking the town to consider if you want to allow employee units in this district.
Employee units, not market value.
Would first floor remain light industrial?
Yes, it would have to
Seems
remain
like we need,
same
yeah,
uses.
that service business. We do.
Yes, good question. We only would have, the way we're writing it and drafting it for discussion is it would only be on the second floor or up. It cannot be, other than parking, which would allow on the ground level. And then we would also be limiting it to, you cannot subdivide it. So it would always have to retain ownership of either a condo in that building or that whole building, because some of those are kind of in your mind, some are not. And so you wouldn't be able to separate it and sell it as a unit, because we think that would be harder to control and monitor, and it would be very hard to have an employee for a business on the premise to buy a unit and then be forced to sell it. Renting seemed a little easier. So that was kind of just the really basics I'm gonna go through to keep in your head of where we were coming from with this. So we had given Planning Commission 2 options to consider. One was kind of looking at the ADU, allowing more flexibility so you could have numerous ADUs on there. The other one was looking at this as a multi-unit. I'm taking out the ADU discussion based on Planning Commission feedback. And what they went with, the option A was just as fine to staff. We just wanted some options for people to consider. A couple things to note from Planning Commission is that they did spend a while talking about where that person should be employed. There was a couple of Planning Commission members who would have been okay if they were just units that had an AMI cap. And there were others who were very big on what staff had drafted, that was you have to be employed by a business on the premise. So that is something that council can discuss. We would probably suggest you keep it, at least for now, to employees on the premise. Because then if you bring in people who are employed somewhere else in the town or county, they may appreciate this apartment, but at the same time, they may also complain about the uses and the operations that occur in a light industrial, and we may be setting ourselves up for some complaints. So I think you don't have those complaints when someone's employed on the premises. So that was, they agreed to start small with people employed on the premises, but that was not a unanimous consensus by the Planning Commission. They had actually a really great idea that we did not take into consideration, and that is to add a floor area ratio. And so what that means is that if you have a giant building on the first floor, you can't go humongous for 3 levels. So you'd be basically having to stack it and go smaller on each level. And that would just make it so it wasn't this huge impact, even though it could be today. They suggested floor area ratio, so that is something I'm gonna ask you. I'll give you a little picture, so think about that. And then design guidelines, we didn't add anything in the draft you saw, but planning commission wanted to make sure we added something, which is smart, because what they also had a concern was you have a big building and someone puts up 1 unit on top of their condo, and it looks really funny, because now you have a whole, let's make sure it fits into the building, and it also allows for future owners, if it's a condo, to go up. So coming up with some design requirements, so we don't get these really awkward looking 1 unit on a giant building that may not look very compatible with the area. So staff is gonna work on that, assuming I think council would support some design requirements.
How did the planning commission discuss that's a pretty limited restriction by saying it has to be an employee in the business.
On the premise.
On the premise, okay, but that seems pretty limiting.
It is, and that was why they weren't all for that idea. It came down to mainly, the purpose is to support the business, and it's the business, the intent is the businesses we saw, and they felt like it'd be hard to go big and then bring it back if there are problems to just employees. It would be either easier to start with an employee unit if you're employed on the premise, and then go bigger if we decide they're not
How does that comport with our overall housing goals though, of
Right.
increasing affordable units?
Well, and that's what you could look at, but I think from a staff perspective, it's also, we don't really wanna hear complaints because you're living in a light industrial district and you were lucky enough to move in, but you work on Main Street and now you're complaining you hear a snowplow in a parking lot below you at 5 AM.
Yeah, are there any noise ordinances? Like what are the noise requirements or
There-
limitations?
So for like snow plowing, none. For the others, you have construction noise, but light industrial, you could have minor odors and smells that technically throughout the day that they're not gonna be bad. It's like your fast food restaurant smell. We're not gonna go out and tell someone to shut down their fast food restaurant because you smell the grease. It would be the same with the noise and odors coming from. Think of your tire businesses and you're changing of tires in the summer, we hear it. You hear that all day.
Yeah, and I would not wanna live above a CrossFit gym, that sounds horrible.
That would be another loud one. Yep. So either way, but that was what their thought was kind of looking at reducing complaints, but still providing, and by premise, if it's a building that has like 6 in it, you wouldn't have to be in the one business. It's 6 businesses option, like, so, can you house my person above you? But that's what I mean, this is all up for discussion, we want your direction.
And the property owner would be responsible for everything.
100%, including the lease, the rent, kicking them out if they're fired from, the same thing we do with our town employees as a town. The commissioners, and we would be doing this anyway, noted the importance that there would be a covenant recorded on the property. And then they did also, as a side note, talk about how a couple of the planning commissioners thought we need more discussion about allowing these also in the commercial oriented along Summit Boulevard, that pinkish purplish you looked at. But we are looking at design requirements at the 4th quarter, especially in that area, and we would rather wait and see if we should be incorporating use changes while we look at design of going higher setbacks, things like that. So they agreed, they do think this should be allowed in the commercial oriented, but maybe we can wait, they agreed to potentially wait if council is okay on that and just start with light industrial. And we may get nobody who does this, but it's an incentive and it's a carrot for people to try.
I was gonna ask, where's the incentive here?
The incentive is they get a place for their employees to live.
Just clarify.
Yep.
And then what covenant would be tied to it?
It would be a different, so what we did was we researched other communities, primarily like ski resorts actually, but employee covenants, where you're restricted, so there's a lot
Oh,
of
it's written
examples.
that
We
way.
write our own, we don't have one for that right
Right.
now, well, with that's how, but we have a lot of templates we found where it's done.
Sweet.
Yep.
How about parking?
Parking would follow our parking regs, so you would have to provide assigned parking space for 1 space per bedroom, it would still follow that too.
So like in front of Napa and all that
If they were
area,
built
they would
up.
have to
and they'd have to put a sign on it to
In the
say
front.
this is theirs.
Or in the back, yeah.
Yeah,
There's some parking in the back.
That's a good question, Dan.
Yeah, it is. So that was planning commission. Overall, they did support the initiative. They do wonder how many people will do it. They thought about maybe it shouldn't be tied to people employed on the premise. And they want some design requirements and floor area requirements, which made sense to staff.
I think anything that can potentially increase the number of beds we have in our community is a good thing. The idea of having this tied specifically to businesses on the premise, I'm not necessarily in support of, because if they are rentals, any individual they know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
They can make the choice to move in above a
That's
business. If they decide later on that that is a place they don't like, they can move elsewhere. But I think I'm not always the biggest fan of restricting how small of a group can move into a workforce housing unit. I think that we should be open to anybody who works in the community, is my perspective.
I think in that situation, then if we had and I don't know who owns these properties out there. Let's just use the Napa building for an example. If we had, in that situation, Zach, if we had someone who did want to put some units up there and we said it has to be for workforce, not just for your general workforce, they would probably want subsidization from the town, right? And so for me, I get what you're saying. I wouldn't be ready though to spend town funds on something like that. But I do like the idea of commercial business owners starting to step up and providing housing.
Is there an opportunity to do a right of first refusal for those business owners that they can offer it to their employees first? They have an employee there sometimes, and then if they can't find an employer or the employee doesn't need a housing, they can offer it to the public.
And they might want to do that just to get rid of it.
But a right of first refusal, I think, would be a great way to negate that.
Yes.
I guess I'm just thinking of like, who owns these buildings, cause I don't know, the businesses, like I've known a few people that have had businesses there and they did not own the building. So like, is the building owned by one person, or are they?
It's different based on the buildings, there's a few different owners.
Like each bay
Some of them
has
are
a different-
condominiums, some of them are all owned by one, and then they rent the spaces, so it's very variable.
Yeah,
based
I
on-
mean, like if there's like one person or one business that owns, 6 bays or whatever, like are they just gonna build a bunch of apartments and like?
They may not, but at least we'd have the incentive that they could,
The opportunity.
if they wanted.
And a lot of those buildings are what you would imagine are at the end of their lifespan, that if this is in place, it may incentivize a refresh there. And one of those owners say, okay, this is the time that I can now rebuild this, start from scratch, put in some units, have rental revenue or other revenue as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm in support of this. I'm just trying to think of like, how do we not let it go crazy of, developers trying to like put in a huge, which I guess, I don't know if that's even a bad thing. I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, right now they can put 2 stories above it.
They can go up to, so right now this is pasted from the code, you can go up 45 foot if you have a pitched roof. So you can do a 4 foot, 4 floors basically. And then, pitched is a little close, but definitely 3 and 35 feet for a flat roof, which is definitely 3-story.
Like what if a business, I'm just like thinking through everything in my head, what if a business wants to rent out a bay, but they don't want what the owner of the building built on top? Does that all of a sudden make this bay inaccessible for a business to rent because it has to go with that apartment?
That would be up between the developer or the owner of the business.
Yeah, I would say that that's the same conversation we had with the Stedman building of you put the right price on a building, somebody will rent it. And we're getting closer to our housing goals if we allow this.
Well, can it be separated? Can like the owner of the building rent that with whatever conditions we put on it, or does it have to be attached to the building?
It would depend how it was, so back to kind of your other question, it really depends on what the property type is like. If it's a condo and they actually built a residential unit and they owned that, then they would sell them together. If it's one big building that is not subdivided at all and not condominiumized, then that owner could put a couple units above and he would regulate that ownership. He would be in charge of owning them, and then he'd have to talk to the businesses or community about it.
I mean, aren't we looking at a code change? Like, do we need to figure out all these details of who's doing what? Like, basically, we're just deciding to let that be a possibility for whoever owns the building. Like, I don't think we have to piece it apart, so.
At the very least for a workforce,
Well, that, yes, that piece for sure.
whether or
I'll-
not, if it's the workforce that works there.
No, that's the one thing that I think we need to piece out, but the rest of it, like, all we're doing is saying, yep, you can build that, and they can figure it out, right?
That was our thought, yeah, in planning commission.
But I think it should be open to any, rental, deed restricted rental. I don't think it should have to just be workforce.
What do you think about the right of first refusal idea?
I think that's fair if the business owner is investing money, because to Martin's point, we aren't necessarily in a position to subsidize all this.
Yep.
But if a business owner is willing to make that investment, they should have first dibs for their employees.
And if they can't, they should have a right to get their money back from construction if they're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
They don't
Or
have
I'd
to.
say like whoever owns the property, because I don't know, because not every business owns their space, so it's gonna be whoever owns the actual building maybe.
And maybe this was your point, but let's say there's a business that already exists in one of these units that's renting. And the owner of the building wants to make these changes. That business should have the ability to say, okay, well, I can't necessarily rent that unit, but I would like to continue to rent my commercial space. And then let the owner of the building who made the changes figure out how to rent the residential space.
Yeah, and so like the 800-pound bear is, what if Walmart were to decide to build up, right? And I mean, in my view, it should just be Walmart employees that they're providing for, but.
That conversation actually came up at planning commission. Did you listen
No,
to our recording? I was so proud of you for listening.
Those are just important things to me.
And that was part of why they talked about commercial, and they specifically said, what about if Walmart built 30 units up there? How would we want them regulated?
Right.
We've also heard many, many times for years that we've been disappointed that many of our large corporations are not willing to
Providing,
contribute housing. And this could open a pathway to do that. It's unlikely that they will, but
Yeah, that's the problem, but it's at least a pathway.
it's a pathway to encourage these larger businesses to provide some type of housing. If they continue to struggle with workforce, maybe this isn't.
They at least have the option to build multi-unit residential above their existing building. And that's all this is doing, is allowing the option. Now, to whoever's point you made about the older buildings, yes, they would also have to meet building and fire codes and structural, and it probably is going to be more of a redevelopment potential.
Start from scratch.
When they actually figure out the logistics and cost of increasing all any
Yeah,
construction.
those structures.
No, those
Not all, anything going on top of them, like the Mountain Comfort or Sherwin-Williams over there, or one of those. That building
Yeah.
has probably gotta be condemned as it is.
And I mean,
Yeah.
so we're looking just, sorry, the blue zone, correct?
This is turquoise right now, correct?
And yeah, Tom and I spoke about this morning, but those storage units.
But whatever.
Like whether that owner wants to hang on to that forever or all of a sudden that becomes a new vibrant little multi-use area that could have restaurants or a brewery and residential above it, that doesn't seem like a horrible thing.
So I'm hearing residential is above is okay in the LI district, like we were suggesting. But open it up instead of our suggestion of employed on the premise, to open it up more to a right of first refusal for people employed on the property, and then you can outreach and go to a certain, probably AMI, but
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
probably our standard workforce.
How about lottery versus bring your own renter?
I don't think we're gonna get to that tonight, Tom.
If we're doing first right of refusal, doesn't that kind of answer the?
Yeah, actually, excellent point. Good, we don't have to answer that one, but, and the reason we needed to know that is because we don't wanna come forward till we have a covenant written too. And so there, you don't wanna get this in place and then somebody would say they actually were ready to do it. Well, you say, where is our covenant? And we're like, well, we have to write that still. And so I doubt anyone's gonna be knocking down the door to do it, but we wanna make sure we have a covenant ready to go when this gets officially adopted.
I have a question, like during some of our retreats, we had talked about, you know, the entire like future vision of Summit Boulevard and redevelopment and what, you know, that just sounds really exciting to me. I really hope I'm around.
But we're doing it in quarter 4, we're starting to
Well,
design it. Oh, I see,
anyway,
I forget
yeah.
about you. Where are you gonna be, you're still alive.
I really would.
Where are you going in the next 6 months?
We'll see what happens. Oh shoot, I just lost my train of thought.
No, building other things on Summit Boulevard, like in front of the businesses or whatever, is kind of the things we were talking about now.
The redevelopment, whether or not there's potential for housing there, how Summit
Beautification.
Boulevard looks in the future.
No? Oh, we lost you.
Dang it.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you know, anyway.
I am with you, Elizabeth. I'm really excited to see what the future of Summit Boulevard could look like. Most of those buildings are at.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you can do it too.
As we're moving through this process, I'm just throwing it out there. I really don't have a lot to say about this, but I'm curious, like with this light industrial residential idea, I'm just wondering in the future, are there any ways to incentivize certain things getting done? Like, do we wanna incentivize these property owners to redevelop their buildings and do this housing thing, and what can we offer something?
Yeah, so it varies between commercial and industrial. So if you're looking at industrial properties, there's a whole toolbox, especially with the state, that you can utilize to help businesses come in. Commercial is a little bit more difficult. There is urban renewal authorities, there's TIF, there's all sorts of different financing mechanisms that we can look at. But yeah, there are incentives that we could explore.
Okay.
And I think in quarter 4, James is bringing forward some ideas on economic redevelopment, I think. Don't quote me on that. He might be sitting here like, that is not this year, but is that for sure? Yeah, quarter 4. So we're actually, it's on his radar. He's doing research right now, meaning he's been doing a lot of economic development. Well, he already has a background in networking as an economic development manager, so he's not learning, but he is learning the Colorado compared to the state he worked in this role earlier. So that is a good advantage, as he'd be having with the economic development background.
Well, I know just a private conversation, I think we all like to see something to start moving towards. You know, just because we have kind of seeded it to the drive-throughs and the fast food and everything else, doesn't mean it has to look like that forever.
Right.
You know, what could we do? I'd really love to start that conversation, get information about what could be done to incentivize people to spruce up a bit.
Yeah, that is I think that's a good one for the town, that is overdue. Awesome. I think you've got, on this topic, everything is answered for us to draft. Is there anything else we can get? Go, very quick
I
you.
guess my only
Yes,
other
please.
one there is on parking. And in an area like that is so close to transit, bike paths, you know, would we ever consider lesser parking restrictions, again, to encourage more people to be able to live there who might be transit oriented.
Those can be the incentives.
We've done it.
We have
Done it.
6.2 million, you know, like, we know that it's possible.
We'll see if it
And
works.
there's folks that don't necessarily have automobiles. So again, just increasing density.
I think it's a great question, and we do have upcoming in the next, I think, 3 to 6 months, it's not immediate, but Public Works and Community Development are working together to bring forward parking as a topic, and it will include that parking pilot program, parking on streets, and we can bring that into the conversation of, we've been really stuck on if we really should be reducing it, but I think it's good to have those thoughts and provide us, because we're not sure what direction to go with that, so keep that in your head, and then we are bringing that with Public Works, I think it's quarter 2. That's why we at least have an action plan, so at least I can say it's on the list. Great, that was it for us, unless you had anything you wanted to go back to. hopefully you'll see these come forward. They'll go to planning commission first for a formal recommendation. And then they'll come to you and we'll probably start ADUs because it's more zoning at first to planning commission and then come to you with what they recommended after.
And what time frame are we thinking on that?
We were thinking we'd bring it to the planning commission at their March 24th. It's the second meeting in March, whatever the third Thursday is. That's our estimated timeline to bring for them. So you'll see it probably, well, with the election, we'll probably wait till early May
Okay.
to bring it to you.
Sweet.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
There, is that our last thing?
That is it. So, talk amongst yourselves.
You know, to flutter up. And we're all kind of like, it still feels warm. And I was like, they sick. Because I just wanted to go sleep. I've been 2 days with the kids skiing. Sunday we went to Copper and they had bands playing. I'm like, wow, I forgot my skis. You're on the magic carpet, kids. And they're like, we don't want to be. I'm like, Patricia's coming to watch you ski, so you gotta go on magic carpet and just deal with the carpet, okay? We're too old for the carpet now, you know?
Now they're experts.
Yeah. I got them all the way on Timberline Express.
Gonna be up in the trees soon.
And came down Sequilly Way, down the green there, and my son had a little hard time with that steep section off of Timberline, but they made it down, but it tired him out pretty good because it's the carpet's only like maybe 100 feet, you know, and this was a lot longer. But they're doing good. It's great.
Anybody want a bubbly?
Lee's going up with, on Saturday with Special Olympics at Copper. They have this really cool program.
Is it a program or Special Olympics?
It's a Special Olympics program.
Okay, because they've done Special Olympics every year.
Guess I'll go get a
Yeah,
bubbly.
but it's his first year, like,
Yeah.
got them all signed up. I wish I could go, but I gotta do the dance thing.
I'm trying to hold off until the kids say we want to do that. I'm not pushing.
You just now walk.
Well, okay, I gotta get another job.
You don't want to cause me crying. Crying is where the sports stops.
Yeah, you're right there. I want them to enjoy it because I have friends that they say their kids don't talk to them because they push skiing on them so hard. And my son doesn't want to ski with me ever again. I'm like, wow.
Stacy, let me know. Ready to go? Cool. Hi, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get the regular meeting of the Frisco Town Council for February 24th up and going. With that, let's have a roll call, please.
Alan.
Here.
Wells.
Here.
Lincoln.
Here.
Skrupczak Adrian. Here. Ryan. Here. Kibbe.
Here.
And Goldstein.
Thank you. We'll now move on to public comments. Public comments are reserved for items not slated on the public hearing on the meeting's agenda. If you plan to comment on an item already slated on the public hearing later in the meeting's agenda, please wait until that item is announced and public comment is requested at that time. State your name and address for the record and limit comments to 3 minutes or less. No council action is taken on public comments and at council meetings. Council takes public comments under advisement, and if or council or staff response is deemed necessary or appropriate, the individual making the comment will receive a formal response from the town at a later date. Be sure to sign in at the welcome table at each meeting if providing in-person comment and include contact information for follow-up communication. With that, I'll open up to any public comment in council chambers. And if someone's available, just come on up to the podium.
Hello.
Hey.
My name is Laura Eichhoff. I own the Backcountry Herbal Apothecary on 507 Main, right across the street from Prince Restaurant. Bet you know what I'm going to talk about. I live in Dillon, but I'm just newly business owner in August for that apothecary that shares that space with the Mountain River Naturopathic Clinic for the doctors. So we kind of have a unique space there. My question was for the 36 slots that were slated for public parking in the front of Main Street and on the side streets there, and how in the world that can happen, first of all, and if there's anybody looking into that to get that fixed. I mean, it looks like a convenience for the people that are working in that space, and I can understand that, but I didn't know who gave them permission, how long you're going to have those spaces if there's an ETA. That's my first comment. Second is the parklets for the summer. I can't see taking up more parking other than 36 spaces, and it just seems like that's not feasible. And if they're going to compensate us, because I have had 3 people in the last week that have said, hey, do you have this in stock, this supplement? I would like to come by and get it. They called again, said, I served the block 3 times. I'm just going to give up. I'll try next week. So we're losing sales. Our sales are down 20% for the month. And yeah, that's basically what I have to say about that. And if there's any comments about what's happening with that parking.
Thank you for coming. Follow-up will come from either staff or if any council members. If as long as you've signed in, we can follow up with you.
Okay.
But we don't take any action on comments.
Okay.
Yep.
And then how long does that take usually for that?
I would think it would take a few days.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
I've emailed the staff and I've had no email responses, so
That's also helpful. Thank you.
thank you.
Go for it. Okay. Hello, I'm Kim Deerpass Bullock. I know a lot of you. And I live in Bill's Ranch, and my husband and I are property and business owners at 507 Main Street, same as Laura. So a lot of my comments and questions are the same as hers. And I guess I want to say, first of all, thank you for being here and for letting us talk and for hearing us, because local government is way more fun than national politics, so I'd much rather be here than watching the TV tonight. And I appreciate some of you have actually already approached us and kind of given us some feedback. I sent an email to the entire council after the last meeting. I couldn't be here in person, and I was trying to get online and I couldn't do it, so hopefully you guys saw that. My comments are, like I said, basically the same as Laura's. It's getting increasingly frustrating to watch the, like she said, 36 spaces. I went and counted yesterday. There's 12 parking places on each 5th and 6th, and I think 12 on Main Street plus the bus stop, plus the sidewalks all the way around. And I encourage you, if you haven't, to walk down there and look. Basically, those spaces are just being used as space for the developers. So I don't see any reason, really good reason, that they need to have those spaces. I was told initially it was a safety concern, that there would be a crane in there, and that makes sense to me. If there's a safety reason that our public parking and sidewalks and bus stop need to be taken, that makes sense. But right now, I don't see any safety concerns from the developing side of the fence. We haven't seen a crane. But there's a lot of safety concerns outside of the fence. If you try to cross Main Street, going northbound on 6th Avenue, which is how I go to work, it's bad because the fencing from the construction basically comes all the way out past the parking places, so you can't see until you're in the intersection. There's safety concerns with the bus stop. The Summit Stage is stopping right in the middle of the intersection, and so you can't, when you're a driver, you're getting off the bus, it's very, seems really dangerous. So I think there's more danger being created right now to the public than being, how should I say this? The public is being put at greater danger than the gain that they're not being protected from anything I don't see from the construction side, and they're being put, all of us are being put in danger. And as Laura said, it's just a huge inconvenience. 36 parking places is a lot. So my request would be that if the builders need that space, they can move that fence, they can move the barrier back and forth. I saw them do it a couple weeks ago when they were bringing in some big trucks to collect dirt. So they had moved those barriers in a matter of minutes back and forth. So if they don't need that for safety reasons, I would ask that the
parking places be opened up. Or this would be a lot less desirable, but at the very least, if they can make a barrier like you see in New York City, right? They still have the sidewalk open, they can somehow put something over to protect those parking places. I don't know if that's possible. Or if there's some other way that the town can create more parking to make up for the parking that we're missing. And it's February, we're running towards the end of the busy season, so it would be great if something could happen sooner than later. I think that's it. But I appreciate you guys' attention to the matter. I know people are talking about this and you're looking into it, so thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
I just did audio checks with,
really don't
oh,
need
with the
that.
microphone.
Oh, we don't need that with you.
You don't need that with me.
I only got
Hi,
thumbs
my
up,
name is
Andy,
Suzanne
sorry.
Jones, and I live at 615 Frisco Street. I believe the last time that I did this, I was trying to change building code. Guess what? It's time to change building code. On these guys' I'm taking up their energy. My concern is not so much the Main Street corridor, because thank God right now I don't still own my business on Main Street, but residential. So what they're talking about on 6th, so I live at 6th and Frisco, and these 18-wheelers, okay? All you gotta do, guys, is go down to the roundabout, past the fire station, and turn right on Frisco, and look at the corners. These guys are messing up the streets so bad. They're 18-wheelers, they're half open, they look, like a milk thing, right? Cut off. They're blowing through Frisco Street, not Granite, Frisco, and blowing through the stop sign. They're coming up that road at 40 miles an hour, turning down 6th, and queuing up for all of the dirt that they are, because the parking is going to be underneath, as we all know, and they're digging up all this dirt, and it's going into so that they're queued up correctly. Come on, okay? So the reason I'm really here is because in the 80s, at least 30 years ago, there was a building code that was put in place that states any commercial construction can take place from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Okay, I'm pretty sure that when that was put into place, there were 10 construction deals a year, okay? I got 10 in my neighborhood, and I'm tired of it, okay? Those of us that live here, and all of you do, or you wouldn't be on council, all of us that live here, we know we don't go out on weekends, we don't ski, we don't bike on the path. God forbid we have to go grocery shopping. I mean, we are absolutely inundated with second homeowners from the Front Range and tourists. So we stay home, we play with our kids, we work in our garage, we have projects, we work in our gardens. Me, I want to sit in the sun and read a book and listen to the birds. Guess what I listen to? I want it. So how about 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday? Give locals our weekend, please. And next council meeting, I will bring comments from at least 30 of my local neighbors who totally agree. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Zip.
Cheers. Bye.
Good evening, Council. I'm Justin Pollock, and I live at 835 Temple Trail in Frisco, co-business owner at 507C Main Street. And my comments are mainly going to echo what Kim Nearpass said, what Laura Eichhoff said about the barriers that go along Main Street. blocking off the sidewalk, blocking off the 12 parking spaces there, as well as the bus stop. I think it'd be advantageous for everybody involved. You know, some of our local business owners that are on either side of us and down the street that aren't getting as much traffic because of the closed sidewalks, to have those barriers pushed back more towards the Foots Rest building and at least have some parking there and some places for walking. Because we do see people, tourists, just walking down the street in the lane of traffic, which does not seem very safe. And other than that, I would just say thank you all for getting a grant to build that, build up the park that is back behind our shop there at Main Street. That's going to be a neat project. So it's nice to live in a town where you guys are developing things like that. That's all my comments.
Great.
Yeah, thanks.
Comments. And the grant was all staff's work, so thank you for acknowledging them. Yep. Any other public comments in chambers? Any online? Great, thank you. No more public comments. So I'm going to close public comments and move on to mayor and council comments. Comments this evening, team?
I just want to say that I went to the all staff meeting and I was really impressed by all the work that all the staff are doing, and it was really great to just see everybody together having a good time.
Thanks. Anyone else?
I'd like to say, I know this has been put out, but the amazing work, kudos to the amazing work done by the team that has kept the Tubing Hill and the Cross Country Center open. As you know, someone who used to work for a company that had to mitigate or constantly decide how much snow or whatever is going to be made here and there and work around that. I got to tell you guys, I'm blown away by what's been done out there. Absolutely blown away. And I don't even use the Tubing Hill or the Cross Country Center, but blown away.
Cool, thanks. Dan?
I like to comment on the Foots Rest and stuff, you know, and, you know, Main Street. We went through Main Street, redeveloping Main Street, and that took a lot of time. A lot of inconvenience, you know, for us back then, too. They're building pretty much up to the sidewalk. They do need just some space to build, to get the foundation in there, to dig. You can't dig and not get rid of the dirt. You know, we're going to be inconvenienced. We're going to be inconvenienced for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. It is an inconvenience. When it's built, you might have more customers there. It's going to be a higher end boutique hotel. It's going to be more people right across from your shop. You know, yeah, there's going to be some pain. Everybody, you're looking at 20% down. A lot of other businesses in Breck are 20% down, 30% down. It's a bad winter. It's a bad snow winter. We are really lucky. I think I work at Fifth Avenue. We have a lot more people on our Main Street, it seems, lately this year, okay? And I sit out on Main Street. It's been warm. There's been more people, groups of people walking around. Because the skiing's not that good. They're not spending as much time as the slopes, you know? Most of the time in the wintertime, most people are on the ski hill. You know, there are a lot more people walking around in town. You know, I feel it. You know, Sue saying about the construction around the house. You know, I had to deal with the Peak One neighborhood being built. You know, for probably 7 years, I heard nail guns going off, you know? And, yeah, you just can't tell people they can't build on their land and get irritated because, you know, yeah, people are building houses. People are developing land. You can't, you know. So, but, you know, hopefully it will be a short year and a half or 2 years. But there is going to be some inconvenience. So, you know, we put up some signs. Maybe we have to put up some more signs to stop people from walking down there. I've seen the people walking along that. It is dangerous. They shouldn't be, you know, it's not everybody, you know, and no matter how many signs you put up, people don't read signs, you know, so, you know, it's going to be an inconvenience. It's going to be a tough one for all of us. Hopefully more people will walk down your sidewalk because that's the only open sidewalk there too. So, sorry, you know, I feel you. That's my comment.
Got it. Thanks, Dan. Any other comments? Got it? No? No other council comments? We'll close council comments, move on to any staff updates.
No staff updates today.
No staff updates. Thanks, Tom. With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We've had some adjustments which were reflected within tonight's agenda. It's the agenda that we agended.
Yeah, they were amended prior to 24 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
So no significant changes since then. So with that, I would entertain any discussion or a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Please call the question.
Kitty?
Yes.
Goldstein? Yes.
Held?
Yes.
Scripture Adrian?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Inkin?
Yes.
And Allen?
Yes. Great, thank you. With that, we'll move into new business tonight. It's going to be our first resolution, or our first order of business is going to be Resolution 26-10, a resolution authorizing the purchase of a CAT 938 wheeled loader. And with that, we have Josh from Public Works.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm here to present Resolution 2610, authorizing the purchase of the loader. I'm going to be recommending approval for this purchase, and that's due to the increased risk around loss of resources and greater equipment downtime. We'll also be recommending that we hold the vehicle replacement plan until we have a better understanding of the revenue after this purchase. This purchase is already included in the adopted budget and capital improvement program within the vehicle replacement plan, so not asking for additional authorization there. If it's all right, tonight I'm going to run through why this vehicle is important, kind of our replacement schedule and model of how we kind of plan for these replacements, and then the remaining schedule for this year, as well as some other reasons why this is important for this purchase right now that I think. Public Works operates 4 wheeled loaders. They're primarily assigned to streets and grounds, but they support nearly every other town operation. So these are constantly used all year round. In the summer, they support construction, staging, materials handling, maintenance projects, and special events. In the winter, they are critical to snow removal and snow haul and clearance operations. And they also support recreation as needed for Nordic Trail operations. Our replacement model for loaders is 7 years or 7,000 hours, and that's really based around a lot of the warranty around that, whichever comes first. The purpose of that standard is to manage operational risk and cost by replacing the unit before major failures become more likely and before the machine's value drops sharply, and that occurs after that 7-year mark. This is also based on our warranty, and staying on this schedule protects reliability during winter operations and protects that trade-in value, while also fitting in with our fleet section's capabilities. For this purchase, the purchase price for the original loader is $371,000 and some change. If approved, we will receive a trade-in credit for $123,400 plus an additional $1,000 delivery charge for what is reflected in your packet as a little over $249,000. And this is consistent with what we planned and budgeted for. For broader context on our vehicle replacement schedule, we plan 2 loader replacements in this fiscal year, one 938 and one 930. The 938 is a little more powerful, has a little more capability. The 930 is a little smaller and a little more nimble, if you will. The 2026 budget includes about $1.4 million in vehicle replacements, plus a little under $480,000 in carry forward appropriations from the prior year. We're also holding several other planned purchases to continue scrutinizing needs this year, including 3 snow blowers, 2 loader mounted and 1 multi-hog mounted blower, the 930 loader replacement, and there was a plan to transfer our current on-hand 930 loader over to the rec to enable their trail making operations that we kind of talked about earlier. We've got other items on there such as a snowmaking tower gun and a few light duty vehicles. We plan to revisit this when we have a better understanding of the FY26 revenue compared with planned expenditures. So that hold accounts for almost $1 million in expenses while we wait to see how the revenue generation is. It's also worth noting the current condition of the loader that we're planning to purchase a replacement for. The machine right now is just over 5,000 hours, and it's approaching the age-based end of our replacement window. While it remains serviceable, we're seeing indicators consistent with the wear out phase for this type of equipment. Most notably repeated issues in the implement interfacing, so the push frames, the things that actually enable the attachments to go onto that loader, and some of the emissions control components. So currently, specifically, that loader is down for an exhaust gas recycler repair, part of the emissions control system. We've also replaced the implement carrier push frame assembly 3 separate times and have recently completed a structural alignment to repair the arms as they kind of had gone out of alignment, and it was causing some issues with some of the push frame assembly. This unit's been inspected and returned to service now. But these categories, the structural implement interface work and emission control repairs, tend to be some of the most time-consuming and costly repairs, and those we will likely to see more as this machine continues to age out. Those 2 repairs that I just kind of talked about for the loader would be around $30,000 if we didn't have the warranty in place, which ends in July of this year. We also spoke with the dealer regarding the impact of delaying or canceling this purchase because we've negotiated that trade-in value ahead of this meeting. And that included the pricing, warranty coverage, and trade value. Our premier warranty expires on end of July of this year. The dealer indicated an extension may be available, but we'd be under a more limited constraints with that. So we wouldn't have some of that exhaust capturing and those sort of things that would be included. It would just be drivetrain repair pretty much. The dealer also stated that they would honor the current purchase agreement if we delay to at least June, but delaying increases hours and exposes us to additional repairs, both of which could trigger a reappraisal of the trade value. So then that could result in reduced money that we could receive back for that piece of equipment. Replacing on schedule reduces the risk of a winter service disruption and helps us preserve trade value rather than carrying a higher risk unit deeper into the wear out phase. So we're recommending approval of 2610 so we can proceed with budget replacement that maintains fleet reliability for core services and protects the town's financial position through a strong trade-in. With that, I'll take any questions. Sorry, that was a lot.
Thanks, Josh. That was a lot. Thanks for that. Questions for Josh, gang?
Josh, I look at that equipment down there and it looks good. You know, I know the trade-in value and all this, and you know, the 123,000 we're gonna get. So we're trading in that one, huh? So we're gonna have 4, we're gonna keep it 4. One's going to the PRA.
There was planned for the 930 that we're now going to hold on and wait because there was going to be no trade-in value associated with the 930. What we're discussing tonight is the 938.
Yeah.
The 930 that we currently have on hand, the plan was for that to go over to the rec to enable some of their trail making operations in the summer and then obviously help with some of the winter season. So why we're able to help a lot with that this year to enable the loaders out there is because we weren't doing a lot of snow clearance operations in town early season. If that changes for next year, there's always kind of a tug of war between.
And they won't need it out there because there will be a lot of snow out there. So they might not need that loader.
I think they'll still need it to help get the tubing hill in operation as well as the rec pass. That's been a typical.
4 loaders is a lot. You know, I for a town, you know, I know the streets and the snow and stuff. I just have a hard time with it. You know, I know that grader's coming up too, and that thing was used maybe one winter when one guy knew how to run it and was doing it. You know, these things fall, and I know it's, you know, 123,000 we did it for. We're buying one for 370. If we hang on to that for 2 more years, what are we going to get for 100,000? You know.
Did a little research on this.
And then also what's it gonna cost to maintain it for that time?
That's going to be the problem is so a lot of that exhaust capture system, those are going to be the likely repairs. We're not going to likely be under warranty because those are the higher cost repairs that we're going to start getting into at that age of the vehicle. We just started seeing it now with this EGR valve. And it was that loader when it was moving around, it got stuck. It couldn't move. We had to get Wagner up here in order to get that repair going. And because we had that service warranty in place, we were able to have that service call to come all the way out here. Next time we're going to be paying for that on our own when it comes up. So I think the repair costs we would see would be more significant within those next 2 years, and we'll also see a lot less on the return. So I think we were looking at around $30,000 to $40,000 for the first year if we push it to year 8, and then year 9 it would be significantly more. But then it's hard to project that based on equipment repairs and then the hours of the vehicle at that stage too.
I was in the Bay the other day, and when I was on town council last time, we had one sidewalk machine. We got another one, and I see 3 in there, 3 articulate ones. I see a new cat with a plow blade on it. Is that a sidewalk machine?
Demoing
Demo?
sidewalk.
Okay.
Because the multi-hogs, obviously not on this topic, but those are high maintenance cost pieces of equipment as well.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find some more lower cost and ones that we can operate year round. So we don't have these seasonal, types of equipment that we're, like the multi-hogs, pretty much just clear snow on the sidewalks and the rec pass in the winter. We'd like to have some more versatile equipment that we can use in the summertime in order to reduce our vehicle density. That's something I'm focused on internally, is trying to reduce our vehicle density.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold you to it.
Please do.
Because we need to do that. 4 paid loaders for, I just think it's a lot. I think the 5 sidewalk machines we have in there are a lot. That grader that's sitting there now is coming on 7 years. We haven't used it. We don't use it that much anymore. We paved most of all our alleyways that were gravel that we were using that for, and we used it once a year, These are expensive machines, and we're getting into a time where budget and revenue's hitting. We got to make some sacrifice, and I hope you look at that and get that under control. Because
Any other questions?
I have a comment.
Please, yeah.
2 things. One, I really appreciate what Dan just put out there. We are looking at some belt tightening, right? So Dan, I actually appreciate exactly what you're saying, and I'm wondering, so I have 2 comments basically. One, I'm wondering if, it's not a question you have to answer now, but it might be time to look at our entire fleet and start seeing what can be, I'm sure you do this too, but what can we get rid of? I think it's always important to look at what you can get rid of, right? And it doesn't mean you have to find something to get rid of. But I will say on the other end, kind of counter to Dan's position, if we do have this, we have this fleet now, and if it's your opinion that we need these 4 loaders, I kind of tend to agree with Dan that 4 loaders is a lot. That's a lot of loaders. But if we have them, I think you make a strong argument for replacement. All right? The numbers you put out, I think, are spot on the hours, the age, and your calculation with the warranty and also the trade-in matters, and also potential repair, right? So I know what it's like to sit in meetings where you're trying to push off capital expenses, push off replacing strategic and important mechanical vehicles and equipment. And I also know what it's like 4 years later when you kept pushing it off and now you got a bigger bill. So I would say I'm for this purchase, but I would also ask if you take Dan's position seriously, like maybe it's time to look at our fleet. So that's my position.
Cool. Any other questions?
Maybe, how many, I just, in my mind, I picture at least 1 loader's in maintenance or in the shop. It's, I just don't see them all working at the same time. And I don't.
Early morning Main Street clearance operations, we'll have them kind of all running for sure. And then, depending on whatever the tasks for the day are. But to your point, there is likely at least a preventative maintenance service, one in the shop for that, or some other down pieces. So in order to kind of maintain our operational requirements out there. But to the council members' points earlier, we are going to take a more data-driven approach and try to determine what the right requirement size is for our fleet for sure, as well as start capturing more repair costs. We're using a RTA maintenance tracking system we weren't fully using before, so we're going to be able to track some more of those maintenance costs and have better data-driven recommendations for this in the future. We're not there yet, but we need to keep building out that capability within the organization.
Well, you just got here, so.
Good job.
Good job. I look forward to it.
Got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, cool.
One quick question, is this the loader that constantly puts snow in my driveway? Because I might be
No,
forgetting
we're
rid of
going to
that.
make sure that one is always operational. Don't worry about that.
Josh, to Elizabeth's point, where did you come from to us before? Where were you working before here?
Actually, my previous job, I was retired from the Army, and the last thing I did was I taught at Command and General Staff College. And one of the key things we kind of focus on there is what's called the Army Force, the Force Management Model, and a lot of that is based around vehicle replacement. So I'm trying to introduce some more data-driven modeling into that, so we can kind of get the requirements right, not miss anything in the town, but do it at the the best cost possible, pretty much.
So is this replacement consistent with your education and training? Thank you. Okay. Any other questions?
Well, I'd just like to add that I do know your background and I do know what you did, and that is really why we're lucky to have him right now on staff. And you are the man that can probably help us really maybe answer some of the questions that Dan has and others have about that
I
experience.
think a lot of us do, yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Any other questions, team? Great. I'll open it up to public comments. Any public comments in chambers? Public comment online?
No, Mr. Mayor.
No public comment in chambers or online. I'll close public comment, bring it back to council, and I do have another comment. We are, to multiple council members' point, we are beginning to start looking at our budget for the rest of this year, and we always have to start somewhere. Inevitably, when I've been involved in any of these sort of breakover points within organizations or at my home, you always have those looming big purchases you have to get through before we start to get to the cutting phase. So I don't have the right answer. I think Josh has made a good point on why we're doing this. So I just wanted to comment that there's never a good time to, here's the line, because there's always something on that line that we need to deal with. And today it's a loader. With that, any other comments?
I was like, or it's the fridge or the washing
So-
machine.
so- always. So with that, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve resolution 26-10.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve 26-10. Please call the question.
Allen,
Yes.
Hibby,
No.
Goldstein,
Yes.
Held,
Yes.
Skripchuk Adrian,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
and Incan.
Yes. Thank you, Josh. With that, we'll move on to old business, which is going to be old business agenda item number 1, which is the second reading of ordinance 26-05, an ordinance establishing pursuant to section 171-11 of Code of Ordinances of the Town of Frisco, the plant investment fees, capital EQR schedules, delivery charges, flat rates, and usage fees to be charged in connection with the town's water system. And with that, we have Leslie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is the second reading of an ordinance related to water rates for usage charges, as well as the plant investment fees, also known as TAP fees. The recommendations included in this ordinance are based upon a thorough water rate study that was conducted by a consultant, Raftellus, and a series of work sessions held with the town council to discuss the recommendations included. These rates would go into effect for the second quarter water billing, which is billed in July of 2026. And staff recommends the adoption of this ordinance on second reading.
Thank you, Leslie. Any questions for Leslie? No questions for Leslie. I'll open it up to public comment. Any public comment in chambers or online?
Not online, Mr. Mayor.
No online or in chamber comments. I'll bring it back to council for any discussion or a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve second reading of ordinance 26-05.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for 26-05. Please call the question.
Incan,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Kibbe,
Yes.
Goldstein,
Yes.
Held,
Yes.
Scripcheck Adrian,
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Great, thanks, Leslie. With that, agenda item number 2 of old business is going to be second reading of ordinance of ordinance 26-06 and ordinance making supplemental appropriations to the 25 budget. Back to Leslie.
These next two ordinances are both related to amendments to the budgets, one for 2025 and the second one for 2026. While we do adopt a budget annually, amendments to the budgets are necessitated from time to time. In this instance, for the 2025 appropriations, these changes relate to some amendments that were discussed with council during the year of 2025, as well as decreases in appropriations for projects that were not completed during the 2025 year and are going to be appropriated in the 2026 budget. And overall, the changes to the budget between the 2 years are favorable to the ending fund balances.
Got it. Thank you.
Staff recommends the adoption on second reading of this ordinance 26-06.
Thank you. Questions on 26-06? No questions. I'll open it up to public comment in chambers and online.
Not seeing any online, Mr. Mayor.
No public comment in chambers or online. I'll bring it back to council for further discussion or motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the second reading of ordinance 26-06.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 26-06. Please call the question.
Kibbe,
Yes.
Goldstein,
Yes.
Held,
Yes.
Scripcheck Adrian,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Incan,
Yes.
and Allen.
Yes. Thank you. With that, our third item of old business tonight is going to be second reading of 26-07 and ordinance making supplemental appropriations to the 26 budget. And we're going to go to Leslie for the last one.
And this ordinance is the changes to the 2026 budget, which again relates to the projects that were not completed within 2025 and are being requested to roll over to be completed in 2026. And these are appropriations to both expenses as well as related revenues. And with that, staff recommends the adoption of ordinance 26-07 on second reading.
Thank you, Leslie. Any questions for Leslie? No questions for Leslie. Open up the public comments online or in chambers.
Not seeing anything online.
No public comment online or in chambers. I'll bring it back to council for any further discussion or a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the second reading of ordinance 26-07.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 26-07 on second reading. Please call the motion.
Allen,
Yes.
Kibbe,
Yes.
Goldstein, Held,
Yes.
Scripcheck Adrian,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
and Incan.
Yes. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Stacy. With that, we have one executive session to go over 2 items this evening. And with that, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Move that we go into executive session.
Second.
Pursuant to,
Yeah.
you have to say the whole
Yeah.
razzle dazzle.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry.
Thank you.
All right, yeah. So let's see, Mr. Mayor, I move that we go into an executive session pursuant to section 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses B of the Colorado Revised Statutes to receive legal advice from the town attorney on specific legal questions concerning the law of libel as it relates to public officials. As well, we move into an executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute Section 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses F, concerning personnel to discuss the town manager's performance evaluation.
Let me just take a quick check. Thad and Stacy, are we good with that?
Dad, are you okay with them moving into executive session for both statutory sites, or do we need to
Yep.
do one at a time?
No, that's fine.
Awesome, thank you.
Perfect. Just
No, that's great.
process question, guy.
And we just
Cool.
need a second on
With
that.
that, we have a motion and a second to go at executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're in an executive session. We'll take a few minutes to flip it over. And Thad's gonna zoom in. Oh, no.
He'll be on the new one.
You'll be on.
I'll be on the new one. Yep, see you in a minute.
Perfect. Thanks, Thad.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.